Hey there. Going to talk about the Constitution today, the United States Constitution. Why do you care? Well, the U.S. Constitution works for you, right? It works for you. It doesn't work for the government. It doesn't work against you. It works for you. It is a set of instructions about how you can take control, about how you can influence the government. And here's the whole goal is for you to be able to use a process to influence the government, not the government influencing you. Control. You don't want the government to control you. You want to control the government. The Constitution lists your rights and your privileges, and that's important. And every time you have a right, okay, I've got a right to this, a right to that, your rights, that's the same as putting a limit on the government. So you want to limit the government. Saying that I limit the government is the same thing as saying I have a right. Remember, the people in the government, you give them their jobs. Right? You give them their jobs. How? By electing them. And if you don't like the way they do their jobs, you can fire them. How do you fire somebody? You don't re-elect them. You get rid of them and you elect somebody different. So you hire them, you fire them. You're in control of the government. The government works for you. You don't work for the government. The Constitution limits the government. You want a weak government. Now, that sounds strange at first, but you want the government to be weak. Why? Because when the government is weak, you have rights. If the government is strong, it will take away your rights. So you don't want a strong government. You want to keep the government weak. You want to keep it from being able to do much. The Constitution, in short, is an instruction book. It shows you the process by which you can take control of the government. The Constitution is not rules, it's not regulations. It doesn't tell you what to do, it doesn't tell you what you have to do, it doesn't tell you what you have permission to do. That's not what the Constitution is. The Constitution is short. It's originally 4 pages. Since then, we've added a couple more pages, up to about 6 pages maybe. The Constitution is instructions, how you can make a difference, how you can change things. The Constitution protects you. These guys wanted to limit the government. The idea of limited government means that the individuals have more rights and more freedoms. So the government worked to be limited. It worked to be controlled by the Constitution. The Constitution sets the boundaries for the government. When the Constitution is written, everybody can see it. It's printed, which means it's objective. It's the same for everybody, and it's publicly accessible. You can use the Constitution as a tool. It's a way you can interact with the government, and it works for everybody. It doesn't matter your race, your religion, whether you're rich or poor, old or young, what language you speak at home. It's a tool anybody can use. You can engage with the government, obviously by voting, but there are other ways too. You can write petitions. You can serve on a jury. You can be on a nominating committee. You can write letters to a congressman. There's all kinds of ways you can be part of the system and make a difference. There's 2 sides to any debate, and both sides can use the Constitution. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative. If you're pro or anti on any big issue, you use the Constitution as the process. The Constitution makes sure that the process is fair, that it's the same for everybody. It creates an equal opportunity for both political views to be heard and to have their impact in government. So, when you think of the U.S. Constitution, think of it like a fence. It's a fence around the government. It's to keep the government confined in its place, in its proper role. You can say to the government, stay in your lane. The idea of the Constitution is its rules that the government must follow. The government has to obey the Constitution. Every country, not every country, most countries have a constitution, but the U.S. Constitution is a unique document in the history of the world, the first written constitution, the first time somebody sat down and actually carefully planned out a form of government and said we need to put limits, borders, boundaries on the government so that the government doesn't do anything more than it's supposed to, because if the government gets too out of control, it's going to take away your freedom. So we put limits on the government, we put a fence around the government. That fence is the Constitution, and by keeping the government limited, keeping it in its fenced in area, it protects your freedom. That's all for now. Bye-bye.